From fragile to anti-fragile, Stoic secrets for real strength, the architecture of fragility. Fragility begins long before it is exposed. You do not wake up one day and suddenly break under life's pressure. It is a structure that is built in silence, laid brick by brick through the choices you repeat without noticing. Every time you surrender to ease when effort is demanded, every time you protect yourself from discomfort instead of walking through it, every time you delay what you know must be done, you reinforce the walls of a fragile foundation. Fragility is not weakness in the body alone. It is weakness in the mind, in the spirit, in the unseen architecture that governs how you face reality. You may think you are safe because the cracks are not visible yet, but the weight of life eventually reveals what is hidden. Pressure does not invent fragility, it exposes it. Society has become the architect of this weakness. Look at the world around you. Everything is designed to keep you comfortable, distracted, and dependent. Food arrives with a tap, entertainment never stops, discomfort is treated as a disease to be eliminated. We are taught to chase convenience as if it were the highest good, yet each layer of ease strips away the very training the soul requires to be unshakable. Seneca once wrote that luxury teaches weakness, and he was right. The more life softens you, the less prepared you are to endure its inevitable storms. Fragility is the byproduct of believing that pain is your enemy, when in truth, it is your greatest teacher. The Stoics saw fragility as a corruption of the mind. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning that he was not made to lie under the covers, but to rise and meet the duties of a man. Epictetus, born into slavery, lived in chains, yet he turned his condition into strength by refusing to let circumstance dictate his spirit. He understood that the man who fears hardship is already enslaved, even if he is free in body. Their lives show us that fragility is not about circumstance, but about perspective. It is not fate that makes you weak. It is how you choose to interpret and respond to what happens. To understand the architecture of fragility, you must look honestly at the small patterns that make up your days. When you avoid a difficult conversation, when you let resentment fester instead of confronting it, when you numb yourself with distractions instead of confronting your doubts, you are silently adding weight to the structure of weakness. None of these acts seem catastrophic at first. They feel small, almost harmless, but together they form a framework of avoidance, and when reality presses down, that framework collapses. Fragility is built in comfort, but revealed in crisis. You cannot destroy what you do not see. That is why the Stoic insists on self-examination. Marcus Aurelius wrote his meditations not as a polished work for others, but as a mirror for himself, a constant reminder to identify the seeds of weakness before they could grow into chains. To dismantle fragility, you must learn to catch it in the moment, to notice when you are choosing comfort over courage, illusion over truth, delay over action. Each recognition is a crack in the architecture, and each deliberate correction is a stone removed. This is not an easy process. It demands ruthless honesty, a willingness to confront the parts of yourself that you would rather hide. But it is in this confrontation that you begin to replace the fragile framework with foundations that endure. Ask yourself now, where does fragility live in you? Is it in the excuses you whisper when no one is listening? Is it in your dependence on others to affirm your worth? Is it in your constant search for comfort to shield yourself from the smallest discomforts? These are not harmless habits. They are the silent builders of your collapse. If you do not confront them, life will. And when it does, you will discover too late that the architecture you built cannot withstand the weight of reality. To dismantle this structure is to reverse the pattern of avoidance. You must learn to walk toward the discomfort you once fled, to embrace the challenges you once evaded, to accept responsibility where you once shifted blame. Each act of courage tears down a piece of fragility and replaces it with resilience. Each confrontation with truth replaces illusion with strength. The work is slow, often painful, but necessary. For only when the fragile foundations are destroyed can you build the kind of strength that not only withstands pressure, but grows because of it. This is the beginning of becoming anti-fragile. It is the recognition that fragility is not an accident of birth or fate, but a structure you have built and can unbuild. It is the realization that weakness is not a permanent condition, but a consequence of repeated choices. And if your choices have made you fragile, then new choices can make you unbreakable. The architecture of fragility does not collapse overnight, but with each deliberate act of courage, each disciplined refusal of comfort, each embrace of challenge, you tear it down. And when it is gone, you stand not as a victim of pressure, but as its master, ready to face the weight of life not with fear, but with the certainty that nothing can shake the foundations you have rebuilt. The weight you refuse to carry. Weakness does not always reveal itself in the body collapsing or the voice trembling. More often, it shows itself in the quiet avoidance of responsibility. You know the feeling, the task you postpone, the duty you pretend is not yours, the truth you leave for someone else to face. Each time you turn away, you are teaching yourself to be weaker. It is not the size of the burden that breaks you, but the habit of refusing to carry it. Responsibility, in its essence, is not a punishment but the training ground of strength. When you avoid it, you are not preserving your energy, you are forfeiting your chance to grow. The Stoics never saw responsibility as an optional choice. For Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who governed millions, the weight of Rome was not something he sought, but something he accepted. He knew that turning away from it would only weaken his character. For Epictetus, who had nothing but his mind, responsibility was no less real. He taught that the first duty of a man is to govern himself, to master what lies within his control. Whether emperor or slave, the weight of responsibility is the same. It is the anchor that prevents the soul from drifting into fragility. To carry nothing is to drift aimlessly, to carry something is to grow strong. Modern life, however, teaches the opposite. We are told to chase freedom without duty, pleasure without cost, rights without obligations. But this so-called freedom often becomes a cage. When you live avoiding responsibility, you may feel lighter, but in truth, you are hollow. Fragility grows in that emptiness. You become like a tree with shallow roots, tall in appearance but easily toppled by the first storm. Real freedom is not found in escaping weight, but in choosing which weight to carry with honor. Think of the responsibilities you resist, the hard conversation with someone you love, the discipline your goals require, the patience needed for growth, the effort to face your own flaws. These are not punishments sent to crush you, they are opportunities sent to forge you. The weight you refuse to carry does not disappear, it waits, and when it returns, heavier than before, you realize that your refusal has only made you more fragile. The Stoic takes the opposite approach. He seeks out the duties that others abandon. He shoulders the tasks that seem heavy, not because he loves suffering, but because he loves strength. Every time you carry what is yours to carry, you add to your inner structure. Each fulfilled duty becomes a stone of foundation. Each accepted burden becomes part of your armor. You do not notice the transformation in a single day, but slowly you are becoming unshakable. The man who carries weight cannot be easily broken because he has already trained under the load. The one who avoids it may seem free, but he is fragile, for he has built no strength to resist the pressures of reality. Ask yourself what you are refusing to carry right now. Is it the work you know you must complete but delay until tomorrow? Is it the self-control you abandon in moments of anger? Is it the courage to step into uncertainty rather than hide in comfort? These avoided weights are not neutral. They weaken you each time you turn away. And though no one may see the cracks today, life will press and the truth will be revealed. The Stoic path is not about shouldering every weight in the world. It is about discerning which burdens strengthen you and refusing to hand them to others. It is about stepping forward when your instinct tells you to retreat. It is about understanding that the weight you carry shapes you, while the weight you refuse to carry shapes your weakness. Responsibility is not a chain that binds you. It is the very stone with which you carve your character. When you begin to embrace responsibility instead of avoiding it, you will notice a shift. What once felt crushing now feels strengthening. What once seemed unfair now feels purposeful. You will see that each duty is a gift, an invitation to build endurance, discipline, and clarity. And in carrying it, you are not losing freedom. You are earning a freedom that fragility will never know. the freedom of being unbreakable, the violence of growth. Real growth has nothing gentle in its nature. It does not arrive with calm music, soft encouragement, or perfect timing. It comes as a rupture, a tearing apart of what you thought you were, a violent clash between who you have been and who you must become. Every time you face true change, there is a death taking place inside you, the death of old illusions, of habits that no longer serve, of identities that kept you small. That is why growth feels so painful. It is not pain for its own sake, but the natural consequence of breaking through the shell that has kept you contained. A seed cannot remain whole and still become a tree. It must split. It must push against the earth. It must endure the weight pressing down until it forces its way toward the light. This is the pattern written into existence itself. And if you resist it, if you cling to the fragile shell of comfort, you deny yourself the only transformation that can make you stronger. The Stoics understood this violent law of progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the impediment to action advances action, that what stands in the way becomes the way. Obstacles are not interruptions, they are the forge. When something collides with you, when the path twists and throws you down, you are not being punished, you are being reshaped. What feels like destruction is the beginning of construction. The old form cracks so that the new form can emerge. Epictetus, born into slavery, chained and beaten, refused to see himself as broken. He saw himself as tested, refined, called to become more than his circumstances. Seneca reminded his students that fire tests gold and adversity tests the strong. What is tested violently is proven, and what is proven endures. Modern society resists this truth. We have built a culture around the worship of comfort, around the lie that stability is the highest good. Yet stability without growth is not life, it is stagnation. A river that stops flowing becomes poison. A body that stops moving begins to decay. A mind that avoids challenge rots from the inside. We are taught to shield ourselves from discomfort at all costs, to chase harmony without disruption, to search for progress that never hurts. But the cost of this avoidance is fragility. When the storm finally arrives, as it always does, the person who has never endured rupture is shattered by it. You know this from your own experience. Think back to the moments that shaped you most. Were they the quiet seasons when everything went according to plan? Or were they the times you thought you had reached your limit, when you were stripped of your illusions and forced to confront your own weakness? Those moments felt like destruction as they unfolded. You may have begged for them to end, convinced they were ruining you. Yet when you look back, you see clearly, they were the very moments that carved your strength. The violent nature of growth is easy to deny in theory, but impossible to deny in hindsight. You are not the same person because of those ruptures. You are more, not less. The Stoic does not curse the blow of the hammer because he knows the sculptor's hand is at work. Every strike removes what does not belong. Growth is less about adding and more about cutting away. You do not need more layers of comfort, more affirmations, more illusions. You need fewer lies, fewer excuses, fewer dependencies. That is why growth feels like violence. It is stripping away what you cling to, until only what is true remains. The process is not polite, because illusion does not let go easily. The false self fights to survive, but it must die for the stronger self to emerge. The danger lies in resisting this necessary violence. When you protect yourself from every trial, when you avoid every rupture, you stay locked in the fragile shell that was meant to be broken. You preserve comfort, but you sacrifice transformation. You survive the day, but you guarantee collapse in the future. By refusing to allow the violence of growth, you set yourself up for the violence of reality, a collapse far more devastating because you never prepared for it. The Stoic chooses differently. He chooses to step into discomfort, to confront what others flee, to accept the cuts that carve him into something more enduring. He knows that the blows are not destroying him, they are defining him. To become anti-fragile is to welcome this process with open eyes. You stop seeing adversity as an enemy and begin to see it as your truest teacher. You recognize that what feels like breaking is actually building, that every storm, every failure, every loss is chiseling away what cannot last. You learn to love the rupture because it proves you are still alive, still growing, still becoming. The world will continue to test you, to strike you, to shake the ground beneath your feet. But if you understand the violence of growth, you will not resist it. You will let it do its work, and you will emerge stronger, leaner, clearer, unshakable. Fragility dies in the storm, but strength is born there. And when you accept this, you stop fearing the hammer's strike, because you know what it is shaping you into. When the world becomes your gymnasium. Life does not wait for you to be ready. It throws insults, delays, betrayals, sudden losses, and unexpected storms directly into your path. For most, these moments feel like chaos, like proof that the universe is hostile. But to the Stoic, each of these moments is training. The world itself is the gymnasium of the soul, and every difficulty is a weight placed into your hands, demanding to be lifted. If you turn away, you remain weak. If you accept the challenge, you grow stronger with each repetition. The pain of resistance becomes the fuel of transformation. Fragility breaks in this gymnasium, but strength is sculpted here too. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself that the world is change and life is opinion. What he meant is that circumstances are not inherently good or bad, they are raw material. One man calls delay a curse, another calls it a chance to practice patience. One man sees insult as an attack, another sees it as resistance training for the ego. What differs is not the world, but the way the soul chooses to train within it. The fragile person curses fate, the anti-fragile person thanks it for sharpening his edge. Adversity becomes the partner that never stops pushing you, and each push demands a response. Consider your own life. How often have you prayed for ease instead of asking for strength? How often have you wished away the very resistance that was designed to prepare you? We seek smoother roads, lighter burdens, shorter climbs. Yet the smooth road never builds endurance. The light burden never strengthens muscle. The short climb never teaches perseverance. We are weakened not by the presence of hardship, but by our refusal to engage with it. The Stoic does not run from the training ground. He knows that each trial is his exercise, each setback his conditioning, each hardship his sparring partner. He steps into the gymnasium of the world willingly, knowing that every bruise is proof of growth. This perspective transforms how you see daily life. The waiting line becomes a lesson in patience. The betrayal becomes a lesson in detachment from what you cannot control. The failure becomes a lesson in humility. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Everything has weight, and every weight can be lifted. This is not naive optimism, it is disciplined perception. To the Stoic, reality itself is neutral. It is your training lens that gives it power. The weak mind sees obstacles. The trained mind sees exercises. The fragile person seeks to escape this gymnasium, but escape only weakens him further. He surrounds himself with comfort, avoids resistance, and demands protection from every hardship. But when reality breaks through, as it always does, he is unprepared. His arms have never carried weight. His spirit has never endured resistance, and so he collapses under the very life he tried to avoid. Anti-fragility, however, is born from engagement. By lifting what is heavy today, you prepare for what is heavier tomorrow. By embracing the blows now, you ensure they cannot break you later. This gymnasium is relentless, but it is fair. It offers you opportunities daily. You need not wait for catastrophe. Even the smallest inconveniences are part of your training. You can either curse them or use them. The Stoic chooses to use them. He does not waste energy asking why the weight is there. He simply lifts it. With repetition, he builds a soul that cannot be broken, because it has already been tested countless times. To live this way is to stop fearing life's chaos and begin to respect it as your teacher. Every insult, every delay, every betrayal becomes part of your training regimen. The world will never stop pressing against you, but you can stop collapsing under it. You can rise each day knowing that no matter what comes, it is another chance to grow. When the world becomes your gymnasium, you are never without purpose, never without practice, never without strength. And slowly, through trial after trial, you realize that what once threatened to crush you is now what has built you. The fragile crumble under life, but the Stoic learns to lift it. Stillness under fire. There is a kind of strength louder than shouts and harder than iron. yet it makes no noise at all. It is the power of stillness when everything around you is in flames. Most people think strength is about action, about striking back, about pushing harder. But the Stoics knew the deepest form of mastery is to remain calm in the very moment when others lose themselves. Anyone can appear steady when life is smooth. True strength reveals itself when chaos is pressing on you, when insults sting, when delays frustrate, when betrayal burns. It is in those moments that stillness becomes not weakness, but the highest form of control. Stillness is not passivity. It is not surrender or resignation. It is deliberate command over the self. To be still under fire is to refuse to let the storm dictate your inner state. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that external events cannot touch the mind unless the mind chooses to let them in. This is not theory, it is battle-tested wisdom. As emperor, he faced betrayals, wars, and plagues. Yet in his writings he speaks not of rage or despair, but of order, clarity, and restraint. His strength was not in swinging the sword, but in ruling himself when the empire itself shook. Think of your own life. How often do you lose yourself to the smallest provocations? A delayed message, a careless insult, an unexpected obstacle. Your mind leaps, your pulse races, your words strike before your reason does. In those moments, you are not in control. You are controlled. The fire is outside, but you have let it burn within. Stillness under fire is the discipline of refusing this surrender. It is the art of meeting chaos with clarity, of standing unshaken while the ground moves beneath others. This kind of calm is not natural. It must be trained. Just as a soldier drills under pressure so he will not break in war, the Stoic trains his mind daily to withstand attack. He rehearses difficulties in thought so he will not collapse in reality. He reminds himself that insult cannot wound unless he agrees, that delay cannot destroy unless he surrenders to impatience, that betrayal cannot define him unless he chains himself to bitterness. By practicing these truths before the fire comes, he prepares to remain unburned when it does. The fragile man mistakes stillness for weakness and rushes into every reaction. He strikes in anger, he speaks without thought, he collapses under his emotions. In doing so, he proves himself fragile, for he is at the mercy of every spark that touches him. But the one who has cultivated stillness carries an inner fortress. No matter how loud the attack, he responds with silence until wisdom tells him to act. This silence is not emptiness, but strength, not cowardice, but dominance. It is the refusal to let another's chaos become your master. There is a kind of dignity in this stillness that others cannot help but notice. When the world expects you to rage and you do not, when it expects you to collapse and you stand tall, you reveal a power beyond muscle or force. You show that mastery begins where reaction ends, and in that calm you can see clearly. While others are blinded by emotion, you are guided by reason. While others burn out in panic, you remain untouched, able to act with precision. Stillness under fire is the shield of the anti-fragile. It is what allows you not only to endure chaos, but to turn it to your advantage. For while others waste themselves in noise, you conserve strength, clarity, and control. You are not the fire. You are the mountain it burns against, unyielding, unmoved. And when the flames pass, as they always do, you remain stronger than before. The art of gaining through loss. Loss is the shadow every human fears, yet it is also the forge in which the strongest souls are shaped. We spend our lives clinging to possessions, relationships, expectations, and identities, as if holding tighter could keep them from slipping away. But loss is inevitable. People leave, fortunes vanish, health declines. Time itself takes everything from us. For the fragile, loss is devastation. It tears apart their sense of self because their self was built upon what could be taken. But for the Stoic, loss is not an end. It is a transformation. It is a chance to gain what cannot be stolen: strength, wisdom, and clarity. Seneca wrote that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and nowhere is this clearer than in loss. The anticipation of losing often wounds us more deeply than the event itself. Yet when the loss arrives, something remarkable happens for the one who is prepared. What seemed unbearable becomes bearable. What seemed like the end becomes a beginning. Because loss strips away illusions, leaving only what is real. In this stripping, The Stoic does not see defeat, but purification. Think of your own life. The friendships that ended, the opportunities that slipped through your hands, the failures that once burned with shame. At the time they felt like collapse, but now you see how they carved you. Each loss forced you to stand on ground you did not know you had, to rely on inner resources you did not know existed. Without those losses, you might have remained dependent, soft, untested. Through them, you were compelled to grow. This is the art of gaining through loss, to turn subtraction into addition, to see absence as opportunity, to treat every removal as a refinement. The fragile soul resists this art. He clings to what fades, he rages against what departs, he curses life for its impermanence. And in doing so, he multiplies his suffering. He loses once in reality and 1,000 times in memory. The Stoic, by contrast, expects loss, rehearses it, and even embraces it in thought. He practices poverty while he has wealth, solitude while he has company, weakness while he has strength. Not because he desires these conditions, but because he refuses to be broken when they arrive. He has trained his mind to find gain where others see only ruin. Loss offers a unique form of growth that nothing else can. Success teaches you pride, but loss teaches you perspective. Comfort teaches you dependence, but loss teaches you endurance. Gain fills your hands, but loss frees them to grasp what truly matters. You learn what you can live without, and in that discovery you become freer than before. To have less, but need less, is not weakness. It is liberation. The man who can lose everything and remain whole is unshakable, for nothing can be taken from him that defines him. The Stoic path does not deny the pain of loss. It does not demand coldness or indifference. It acknowledges grief, but it refuses despair. It allows mourning, but it transforms mourning into meaning. To lose is human, but to grow through loss is divine. Each absence becomes an invitation to fill yourself with something greater: courage, wisdom, resilience. The fragile collapse because they think loss diminishes their worth. The Stoic rises because he sees loss as a fire that burns away what is unworthy, leaving the core untouched. The art of gaining through loss is perhaps the purest expression of anti-fragility. It is not about surviving tragedy, but about becoming more because of it. When you lose wealth, you gain freedom from its chains. When you lose comfort, you gain endurance. When you lose illusions, you gain truth. And when you lose people you love, you gain the clarity to treasure those who remain and the courage to carry their memory as strength. Nothing is wasted, not even grief, if you learn to shape it into growth. This is the reversal the Stoics invite you to practice, to stop asking why life takes and start asking what it gives through the taking. For in every subtraction lies a hidden addition. In every ending lies the seed of a beginning. If you learn this art, loss will never break you. It will build you, and you will see that nothing the world strips from your hands can touch the fortress you have built within, becoming the adversity. There is a stage in the journey where you stop merely enduring trials and begin to embody the very force that once threatened you. At first you resist storms, you brace yourself against them, you pray for them to pass. But the Stoic learns that true mastery does not come from survival alone. It comes when you stop being at war with adversity and instead become indistinguishable from it. You no longer stand as the fragile figure shielding yourself from blows. You become the unrelenting pressure, the force that cannot be moved or intimidated. To become adversity itself is to transcend the role of victim and step fully into the role of master. This shift is rare because most cling to the identity of endurance. They pride themselves on withstanding hardship, but secretly they still fear it. They survive storms, but they never stop seeing storms as enemies. The Stoic crosses further. He no longer dreads what life throws at him. He expects it, he welcomes it, and in time he begins to generate his own trials deliberately. He practices voluntary discomfort. He trains his desires. He seeks out resistance instead of waiting for it. In doing so, he transforms from one who resists life to one who wields it. He is not afraid of challenges because he has become challenge itself. Marcus Aurelius urged himself to rise each day, prepared for insult, betrayal, selfishness, and chaos, not with bitterness, but with readiness. This readiness is the mark of one who has fused with adversity. He does not waste energy wishing people were different or circumstances were easier. He has made adversity part of his identity, and therefore nothing surprises him, nothing unsettles him. To him, the obstacles are not interruptions but confirmations that he is on the right path. They are reminders that strength must be lived, not theorized. Think of the difference between a soldier who trains only when war comes and a soldier who trains daily as if war never ends. The first fears the battlefield, the second has already made his life into one. The Stoic is that second soldier. He knows that life itself is the battlefield, and he embraces it without complaint. By becoming adversity, he strips the world of its power to intimidate him. He is not waiting to see if storms arrive. He has already made himself the storm. This transformation requires a reversal in thinking. Fragile minds see life as something to endure. Strong minds see life as something to conquer. But the anti-fragile mind sees life as something to embody. You no longer ask, "How will I survive this?" but instead declare, "This is who I am." Every hardship, every rejection, every loss becomes fuel that deepens your identity as someone unshakable. Adversity does not visit you, it flows through you. Resistance does not break you, it radiates from you. At this level, you intimidate the very forces that once intimidated you. Where others complain about obstacles, you move toward them with calm certainty. Where others collapse under pressure, you treat pressure as breath itself. Where others ask for lighter burdens, you demand heavier ones because you know they reveal what you are made of. This is the psychological shift that separates the strong from the unshakable. You no longer stand apart from hardship. You embody it. You become its living image. To become adversity is not to become cruel or destructive. It is to become relentless, disciplined, and untouchable. It is to embody the principle that life can take nothing from you that you cannot turn into strength. The fragile crumble under adversity, the resilient survive it, but the anti-fragile become it. And when you reach this stage, you realize there is nothing left to fear, for you and the storm are no longer separate. You are the force that others must withstand. You were built to withstand fire. Every fragile thing breaks in fire. Glass shatters, wood burns, even metal melts under enough heat. But the human spirit was never meant to be glass, wood, or even metal. It was meant to be something more enduring, something that grows stronger in the very furnace that seems to threaten it. You were built to withstand fire, not by avoiding it, but by walking through it and discovering that each flame reveals your true nature. The Stoics never taught us to seek a life without trial. They taught us to see trial as proof that we are alive, as evidence that the soul is capable of far more than comfort allows. Fire does not destroy the Stoic, it defines him. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. This is the image of the anti-fragile soul. Whatever life hurls against it becomes fuel. Insult becomes patience, loss becomes endurance, failure becomes wisdom, betrayal becomes detachment. Nothing is wasted because the fire consumes all and transforms all. What looks like ruin to the fragile is nourishment to the strong. You may think the flames are your enemy, but step closer and you will see. They are the forge and you are the iron. The mistake most make is to spend their lives running from the fire. They build walls of comfort, insulate themselves from discomfort, design lives so soft that even the smallest spark feels like disaster. Yet no wall can keep fire away forever. When it arrives, it finds them unprepared, untested, and it consumes them completely. The Stoic walks another path. He does not seek fire for its own sake, but he does not run from it either. He knows that to fear the flame is to fear life itself, for life is nothing if not a sequence of tests. The one who accepts this becomes immune to fear, for he has already embraced the inevitable. Think of your own trials, the moments when you felt the heat was unbearable. Did they not leave behind a version of you that was sharper, wiser, more enduring? At the time you begged for the flames to end, but now you see that they were burning away what was weak, false, and unnecessary. What remains after fire is not less, it is purer. The Stoic invites you to adopt this vision, to see every hardship not as a threat to your existence, but as the very thing that proves your strength. If you can withstand fire, then nothing in this world can shake you. You were not made for fragility. You were not made to crumble at the first strike of adversity or collapse under the weight of loss. You were made to endure, to adapt, to grow stronger. Fire is not a curse laid upon you, but a reminder of your design. You were not created to be preserved like a delicate object in a cabinet, untouched by life. You were created to be tested, stretched, refined, to reveal what lies within when all else is stripped away. This is not cruelty, it is purpose. Without fire there is no revelation. Without trial there is no proof of strength. The anti-fragile soul no longer fears what is coming, for he knows he was built for it. He stands before the fire not with dread, but with acceptance, even gratitude. For he knows that every flame carries a gift, every trial a lesson, every hardship a chance to grow. And when he emerges from the furnace, he does not emerge weaker, scarred, or broken. He emerges sharpened, steadied, purified. To withstand fire is to become fire. To live this way is to walk through the world untouchable, unshakable, unafraid. This is the conclusion of the Stoic path to real strength. You are not fragile glass waiting to shatter. You are not soft wood waiting to burn away. You are not even steel waiting to bend. You are the soul that grows stronger in flame, the spirit that rises through trial, the fire itself. When you understand this, you will no longer run from hardship. You will walk toward it, knowing that it cannot consume you. It can only reveal you. You were built to withstand fire, and in that truth lies the freedom and power the world cannot take away.